like right now, not gonna be like you can't bust right on like every single fighter if you can. It's not like the most quote unquote efficient thing to do, but do keep in mind you can kind of fix a lot of her problems with Scotty. And then Tamamo and Brynhilder, I mean, there's really no easy way to say this. If you do like Lancer, you just want one of these two. Tamamo and Brynhilder, I mean, she suffers from like a lot of the other Summer 1 servant problems that they just don't buff them at all, and like she significantly needs a lot of buffs to make herself better. And then Brynhilder, I kind of feel is very similar to Sigurd in a way where you have a really solid basis for a servant, but she needs like 1 or 2 more buffs to kind of just finish off Brynhilder and just make her a little bit better. Maybe just 1 more buff, right? Maybe just 1 more buff on Brynhilder that's really significant, and you can kind of turn that servant around. So, you know, she's kind of dead in the water if you get her. If you like Tamamo, that's really good because you know, at least get to have Tamamo in a swimsuit with a wet shirt. That's pretty dope, I guess, if you like that. And then Brynhilder you can kind of see as an investment, right? Because if they give Brynhilder like 1 more buff, I think she will be really crazy. Then we have Ryder. Ryder, even though it's a like 1 in 5 chance, this is probably one of the worst ones for me to summon on, in my opinion, because like Reigns, I think, is the high value target here because she's basically a Ryder version of Waver, right? And that's insanely valuable, right? 350% battery for 1 ally, that's insane, right? That's super, 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 super good. And her NP and like her just overall defensive capabilities are really good in Challenge Quest. So she's like definitely the target for Ryder. But if you don't get her and you get Lolly Da Vinci, that's also really good because she's an insanely good looper. Again, Castoria's coming out in a few months. She's going to be very, very good for the whole Castoria meta. Now, that being said, unfortunately, these 3 are still kind of on the wayside. Iskandar's an absolute Chad, he's a bro, but unfortunately, he's kind of from an older time, and I mean year 1 time, but let me explain. So, essentially, the design philosophy, might have been divinely inspired, who knows, but I can't now mess it up. The design philosophy during year 1 was you were either, like, a really hard-hitting servant, but you didn't have a battery, or you were, you know, kind of a weaker servant, right, and you had a 50% battery. Case in point, there was a debate of Iskandar versus Drake, where Iskandar blows Drake's damage out of the water, but he doesn't have a battery, whereas Drake doesn't hit as hard, but she has a 50% battery. As time went on, the battery aged a bit better, and it is absolutely insane now, because Cody and Skya literally says, if you don't have a 50% battery, trash, you're not in my optimal farming setups, right? So Iskandar kind of got shafted there. Although, all I'm saying is that if they can give Ilya a 50% battery with the buff, they can give my man the King of Conquerors, right, a 50% battery, or a 30% on one and a 20% on the other one. Like, even just the 30% is fine because of a pen skills, right? Just please let him be relevant, please. Just give him a 30% battery. So really, if you get Iskandar, you're just going to be using him for the bro moments, right? Like, he's a cool servant, but not super meta or anything, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta just like him for the character, which, to be fair, is not hard to do, because Iskandar's super dope. Ivan is just kind of generic, good boss servant, like, nothing super special, but unfortunately, Ivan's not really popular with a lot of people, and his kit is just kind of generically good. There's nothing, like, super insane to it. It's just kind of, like, fine. So if you get him, it's probably going to be a little anticlimactic. And then, this one right here, Ryder Alter, I mean, it really just depends. Do you have Scotty on your account? Because she's very similar to Skahawk, right? Where she's able to output a lot of damage on her NP. She can do 1 really good, strong NP, but then she's really going to struggle to maintain consistent turns after that. Now, Scotty helps those servants out a lot by, you know, basically just force-feeding them 50% NP, but if you don't have Scotty, it's going to be a little harsh. You can kind of make it work with, like, a Scotty and a Waver, but you really want Scotty around because of that, like, 100% quick buff, the, like, 200% quick crit damage they both give, you know, the ability to just force 100% NP back into a target. That's all really good. So it's kind of like, if you have Scotty, I think she's really good. If you don't, not so great. And that kind of makes this banner a little hit or miss because you get either of these two, they're really good. And then if you have Scotty, you have a 3 in 5 chance of getting a really solid servant for your box. But if you don't have Scotty, she's not looking the best. And again, she's kind of more of just a nice prize to look at if you get her and you don't have Scotty. And that brings us to the caster banner. This is probably going to be one that a lot of people are going to hit, and I don't blame you. This banner looks absolutely cracked. Now, people forget that they buffed Ilya, like I was just saying a second ago. They gave her a 50% battery, dude. They for whatever reason, didn't think Ilya, like, again, the dynamic is like, you're either a servant that doesn't have a big battery and you just hit really hard, or you have the big battery and you don't hit as hard, you know, the whole Sanzo and Ilya dynamic. But then they literally just threw that out the window, and they're like, 50% battery for Ilya, you know, Ilya, just screw it, like, we're just gonna make her broken. So if you get Ilya, I mean, you're just waiting for that 50% battery, and then she's like one of the hardest hitting casters in the game, and then she's also, you know, got a 50% battery, so she's super versatile in like farming and boss fights, everything. It just makes her cracked, right? Scotty, I don't need to say anything about. I mean, he's literally the premium quick support type servant. Merlin, he's going to be the premium buster support type servant until Koi and Skya comes out, and then even then, Merlin is still debatably better when it comes to fights because Merlin gives you a lot of sustainability. You know, like, Merlin's NP is on a 5-turn loop, so it's not even like the 3-turn loop. He's in there for the long haul, right? He's in there for the 5-turn loop. So when it comes to like harder content and making your servants do like also really good burst damage, Merlin is your king, right? He's still very, very good. Hoping that he gets a buff soon because like, I kind of want Merlin to, you know, reign supreme again. I'm really hoping they buff his first skill and they bring it up to a 30% party-wide battery. I think that'd be sick, but we'll talk about that at a later date. Nerocaster, I think Nerocaster is good, but I think you want to get her at NP2, so she actually hits pretty hard. Because at NP1, she's kind of a paper towel. She's kind of like Kiara in that way that like you really want to get her to NP2, so like her kit kind of fully shines. Because Nerocaster wants to output lots of damage. Right? She's got a 50% battery, like a 50% attack buff. She wants to slam people into the dirt, but until you get her to NP2, she's not really doing that maximum damage. She's not really leaning into that. So you can get her to work at NP1, but really you want her at NP2. But if you get her here, I mean, then you happen to get her another GSSR. I mean, there you go, you've cooked. You got her at NP2, right? Murasaki's very good. I've had a video on Murasaki, and she's, you know, just a decent, not even decent, just a very good AoE caster. Very, very solid, very good damage mods. The only one that's kind of a dud here is Da Vinci. And even then, Da Vinci's just got like generic good stuff on all her skills, like 50% battery, the pierce invincibility, the decent survivability with the guts. It's just the only thing that's kind of annoying is that she only has 1 hit on the NP, and so that kind of means you're relegated to really only using her in challenge quests, where she does do pretty good, right? Like, she's a fine option to bring if you want to bring her challenge quest, because the pierce defense, the pierce invincibility, and then the future buff where she gives the entire party a like an arts buff over here, it's just very fine. Like, I say she's the dud out of the group, but even then, she's still fine. Like, if you get Da Vinci, if you need to pull out an AoE caster for whatever reason that's not named Nidochris, you can pull out Da Vinci. Assassin, probably one of the ones I would try to avoid, because really the only one here that I'd be like, that's a servant that's really, really good right there is Kama. Cleopatra's decent when it comes to AoE fights. I mean, she's got good sustain there. You don't really want to try to use her for farming. She doesn't really do enough damage to farm, but if you want to bring her to like challenge quests and like longer fights like that, she does really well there. Shu Tendoji, she kind of has the same problem as Da Vinci because she has the 1-hit NP, but again, very good when it comes to longer fights because she just says, screw it, I'm just gonna slap you with literally every debuff known to man. You know, has the AoE charm, plus the guts to keep herself alive, plus they gave her a battery, and she's got the Oni charisma. You know, she's really just packing a lot of like generic good stuff, right? Just very, very good things that you'd want a boss killing servant to have. But she's also really good against numerous enemies. But again, probably not a servant that a lot of people are like, ooh, I really need Shu Tendoji because it's not very common for you to need an AoE assassin. That's probably why these 3 aren't as popular. If Semiramis had like a natural 50% battery, she'd probably be a little more popular. She's fine with Kogi and Skya, but again, there's not really finding yourself needing an AoE assassin, right? Like it's very rare for you to be like, man, I really wish I had this AoE assassin right now, then I'd really be cooking. Because if you're gonna be farming like Riders with a Quick or an Art Servant, you're probably just gonna use like Space Ishtar, Musashi, or you're gonna be using like Lancelot for Quick, Dante's for Quick. You're probably gonna be using somebody else, right? Like just like a general like Berserker or neutral class servant, because you want to avoid using assassins because of their really bad damage mod. If you didn't know, every servant in the game has like a damage mod like built into their class, so like certain classes will do more damage than others. If you've like looked on the wiki and been like, why are some of these servants like not hitting as hard as they should be? It's because of their class modifier. So you have that. MHX is actually really good. It only took them buffing literally everything on her kit, which is actually a really good, just generic good single target servant. Very solid. If you get her, I wouldn't be sad. Although if you don't have Scotty, you're probably not gonna be pulling her out all that often, so then she might kind of be a dud. But she's a cute servant, so at the very least, you got that going for him or her. Him, her. You know. Sorry, I was thinking of Old Man on the Mountain over here, Mr. King Hassan. Yeah, he's just